See that all that you do and others do to you is the doing of God or done by God by preordination. What you are and what you do is only a script or fate that God has given to you. The illusionary I. Human is just puppet controlled by God. You do not have free will. We are not in a position to obey or not at will. You and I are as the pen in the fingers of the writer. By seeing that God is the doer, you will not be contempt at other people's misdeeds and you will not be proud of your good deeds. You will not ask for rewards for your good deeds. Your good deeds are alms or gift that God has given to you. Whoever is proud of himself and his actions has strayed off the path of right guidance and has claimed what is not his. Pardon and faith is free gift from God. Whatever you say and do to me through myself and other people, my whole being belongs to you, my Lord. The chosen community has agreed that God is one and that there is nothing like him, and that he is just in his judgment, does whatever he wishes, and governs what he wills. One does not ask, why, about anything of his making. If you do not argue and dispute or complain with the Lord of truth, almighty and glorious is he, your servitude to him will be complete. You will become a true servant and be included in the group concerning whom he has said, as for my servants, you have no authority over them. Quran 15:42. If someone wishes to receive contentment with the judgment of Allah, almighty and glorious is he, let him practice constant remembrance of death, for remembering death makes afflictions and misfortunes seem insignificant. Gratitude will bring you more blessings and draw you closer to your Lord, almighty and glorious is he. While patience will put your heart on a firm footing, give it support and assistance, and help it to succeed. The lover becomes a loved one only when his heart is purified of everything apart from his master, almighty and glorious is he. When his realization of the divine unity is complete as well as his absolute trust, his faith, his conviction and his direct knowledge is when he becomes a loved one. His suffering then departs and comfort comes to him. Do not let your main concern be with food and drink, clothes, sex and the amassing of worldly goods. Your main concern should be worshipful service and giving up bad habits or misdeed. O you who abstain from this world, when your heart moves away from it, seeking the hereafter, say, he who created me, and he guides me. Quran 26-78. O seeker of the Lord of truth, almighty and glorious is he. You who are longing for him and abstaining from everything apart from him, when your heart moves away from the door of the garden of paradise to go looking for its master, say, he who created me, and he guides me. Quran 26-78. Be sincere, be compliant and be pleased with God. Do not be concerned with the wealth of this world, and with whoever owns it. Remember God until remembrance relieves you of your heavy loads, leaving you free from any burden of sin, so that you become obedience with no disobedience, for then he will remember you. If you desire that God may be pleasing to you, then look at him with the eyes of them that love him. Look not at that beauty with your own eyes, look at that object of desire with his votary's eyes. Shut your own eyes from beholding that sweet object, and borrow from his admirers their eyes. Nay, borrow from him both eyes and sight, and with those eyes of his look upon his face, in order that you may not be disappointed with the sight. God says, whoso is God's, God also is his. God says, I am his eye, his hand, his heart, that his good fortune may emerge from adversity. Whatsoever is hateful to you, if it should lead you to your beloved, at once becomes agreeable to you. Why God is named hearing, seeing, and knowing. God calls himself seeing, to the end that his eye may every moment scare you from sinning. God calls himself hearing, to the end that you may close your lips against foul discourse. God calls himself knowing, to the end that you may be afraid to plot evil. Be faithful to God. If we adults have to become like little ones in order to enter the kingdom of heaven, it is like little ones of this happy age, up to 5 years, say, that we will do so little ones who are for themselves big ones, who are still immense, more truly grown up than the grown-ups, so called. The abasement and exaltation of this compound body is now health and now grievous sickness. Know all the conditions of the world are in this wise, drought, famine, peace, war, and trials. This world flies, as it were, with these two wings. Through these all souls are homes of hope and fear, so that the world keeps trembling like leaves, in the cold and hot winds of death and resurrection. Till TBE jar of pure wine of our unity shall supersede the jar of many-colored wine. Plurality, for that world, of unity, is as a salt pan. Whatever enters it loses its varied hues. On the text, verily I am about to place a Khalifa or vicegerent on earth. Whereas the aim and will of the merciful God incline to the revelation and manifestation of himself, and one opposite cannot be shown but by its opposite, and that unique King of Kings has no opposite or peer, therefore that Lord of the heart set up a Khalifa, to serve as a mirror to reflect his own sovereignty. Cleverness is the opposite of humility and submission. Quit cleverness, and consort with thoughtless, stainless mind as in severing our worldly attachment and cut off our worldly desire. In reality, you fear nothing except poverty. You hope for nothing except affluence. Cleverness comes from Iblis, but love from Adam. Cleverness is like Canaan swimming in the ocean. 'Tis no river or small stream, 'tis the mighty ocean. Away with this attempt to swim. Quit self-conceit. 'Twill not save you. Canaan was drowned at last. Love is as the ark appointed for the righteous, which annuls the danger and provides a way of escape. Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. Cleverness is mere opinion, bewilderment intuition. Make sacrifice of your reason at the feet of Mustafa. Say, God sufficeth me, for he is sufficient for me. Do not, like Canaan, hang back from entering the ark, being puffed up with vain conceit of cleverness. He said, I will escape to the top of high mountains. Why need I put myself under obligation to Noah? Ah, better for him had he never learned swimming. Then he would have based his hopes on Noah's ark. Would he had been ignorant of craft as a babe? Then like a babe he would have clung to his mother. Would he had been less full of borrowed knowledge? Then he would have accepted inspired knowledge from his father. When, with inspiration at hand, you seek book learning, your heart, as if inspired, loads you with reproach. Traditional knowledge, when inspiration is available, is like making ablutions with sand when water is near. Make yourself ignorant, be submissive, and then you will obtain release from your ignorance. For this cause, O son, the Prince of Men declared, the majority of those in paradise are the thoughtless, stainless mind. Cleverness is as a wind raising storms of pride. Be thoughtless, so that your heart may be at peace, not with the folly that doubles itself by vain babble, but with that arising from bewilderment at the truth. Make sacrifice of reason to love of the friend. True reason is to be found where he is. Men of wisdom direct their reason heavenwards. Vain babblers halt on earth where no friend is. If through bewilderment your reason quits your head, every hair of your head becomes true reason in a head. Knowledge of the truth is to be attained not by exercise of the reason, but by illumination from above. When the light of the truth is revealed, reason is drowned in bewilderment. True love is a gift imparted by God to whom he will. Love puts reason to silence. Love is a perfect muzzle of evil suggestions. Without love, who ever succeeded in stopping them? Be a lover, and seek that fair beauty. Hunt for that waterfowl in every stream. How can you get water from that which cuts it off? How gain understanding from what destroys understanding? Apart from principles of reason are other principles of light in great price to be gained by love of God. Besides this reason of yours, God has other reasons which will procure for you heavenly nourishment. By your carnal reason you may procure earthly food, by God-given reason you may mount the heavens. When, to win enduring love of God, you sacrifice reason, God gives you a tenfold recompense, yea, 700-fold. The cup-bearer of life bore away their reason. They were filled with wisdom of the world without end. Joseph's beauty was only an offshoot of God's beauty. Be lost, then, in God's beauty more than those women. Love of God cuts short reasoning, O beloved, for it is a present refuge from perplexities. Through love bewilderment befalls the power of speech, it no longer dares to utter what passes, for if it sets forth an answer, it fears greatly that its secret treasure may escape its lips. Therefore it closes lips from saying good or bad, so that its treasure may not escape it. In like manner the prophet's companions tell us, when the prophet used to tell us deep sayings, that chosen one, while scattering pearls of speech, would bid us preserve perfect quiet and silence. So, when the mighty phoenix hovers over your head, causing your soul to tremble at the motion of its wings, you venture not to stir from your place, lest that bird of good fortune should take wing. You hold your breath and repress your coughs, so as not to scare that phoenix into flying away. And if one say a word to you, whether good or bad, you place finger on lip, as much as to say, be silent. That phoenix is bewilderment, it makes you silent. Glorify God, listen to God and obey God. When you face the Qibla, you should despair of this world, what it contains of creation and what others are occupied with. Empty your heart of every preoccupation which might distract you from God. See the immensity of God with your innermost being, and remember that you will stand before Him. When you recite the takbir, you should belittle what is between the high heavens and the moist earth, which are all below His glory, for when God looks into the heart of His bondsman while he is saying the takbir, and sees in his heart something obstructing the truth of his declaring that God is great, He says, O liar, do you try to deceive me? By my might and my majesty, I will deny you the sweetness of my remembrance, and I will veil you from my nearness and from joy in my intimate communion. All these things you have done are but the branches of love, you have not yet attained to the root, which is to give up life itself for the sake of your beloved. The lover who lives for God and readily gives up his life for God enjoyed eternal fruition of his love, according to the text, O thou soul which art at rest, return to thy Lord, pleased, and pleasing Him. See death as the meeting time with God and you yearn for the meeting. You yearn the day that you are released from the prison of this world and the prison of the body so that your soul return to the sea of souls, God. The knower sleep regarding the affair of this world. His only concern is God. Melting like a candle. Seek to know God, yearn for God and be sincere in loving God with a bleeding, burning heart and weeping like a candle. The ills of fortune and all troubles soever are better than exile from God and neglect of Him. For the former pass away, but the latter abide. He is happy who carries a weary heart before God. This is illustrated by an anecdote of a woman who complained of the hard life she had to lead with her husband owing to his poverty, and was silenced by being asked whether she would prefer to be divorced. No troubles are so hard to hear as separation from the beloved. Fasting bring pains with it, but not so great as those incurred by banishment from God. In the midst of their troubles God is ever caring for His servants, and they must not let their tribulations blot out the memory of God's previous goodness to them.